Gary,
hey,
we meet again.
Hey, Manny.
What's going on, my man?
I'm just glad to be here, my old stomping grounds.
This is definitely your old stomping grounds. Well, what are we doing here, Gary, here on the Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road? Well, today it's rather a dark subject, rather depressing subject, but one that we're going to get through together, and it's we're going to be talking about the death of Valentina Suriani. Of course, our first video together, we talked about your friendship and your life with Valentina and all your memories. Well, today is going to be about the end, which of course, as I said the other day on our show, I'm very glad that I got to know you for these past few months so we could actually be more comfortable together talking about these subjects.
Well, you know, you're a very dear friend now, so.
Thank you, Gary, and I feel the same way. So tell us where we are, man, and tell us your memories of this place.
Well, this is 1950 Hutchinson River Parkway South, and this is the last place where Valentina lived. Her family moved here from Mace Avenue, 930 Mace Avenue, because he wanted a better life for them, a bigger apartment.
And is that where we were in our first video?
930 Mace Avenue was the apartment that she lived in, where I knew her best.
Right.
She moved to Pelham Bay for a very short time, and I think that was just a place for them to be until this was all ready to go.
Uh-huh. Was this a new building at the time?
I don't think a new building, but I don't know. It looks to me, and maybe you'd know, it looks like something that might have been erected in the 50s, possibly.
Yeah, it looks like 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
More 60s than anything.
Yeah.
Possibly even late 60s, like Co-op City style.
Yeah, you know, now when Valentina lived here, I didn't see her as much, but she was always in the neighborhood anyway.
Right, because of school.
So yeah, whereas when we were in school together, high school or grammar school, we'd see each other, I mean, several times a week.
So, were you ever in here?
I was never in this building. I never
visited her here?
Yeah, because by that time, I was with someone else. She had met Alex.
Right.
So, but we were still very close.
Right.
I mean, because we were a very close-knit group. Me and Mike Ziccola, who you've had on recently, and
right.
We were a very, very close group, and to this day, I'm still in speed dial touch with just about everybody.
So Gary, let's walk south a little bit, not only to get out of the cold. It's kind of a chilly day here today in the Bronx in April, which is, I guess, somewhat normal.
Yeah, we were hoping for 60, but it's only 54 or so.
Yeah, exactly. But anyhow, it's rather ironic because, you know, Valentina lived here in this building, and unfortunately she also died here on this block, not even like, what, 200 feet, maybe 300 feet from where she lived is where she was shot.
Right.
And so we're talking about the Hutchinson River Service Parkway Road.
Right. And she either parked at that particular spot because she didn't want anyone kind of looking at her while her and Alex were making out, or that was the only spot available. My guess is that she just wanted to be a little bit away from the building. A little bit away. Because like a lot of families I grew up with, very Catholic and very, you know, you just have to be discreet, you know.
Right. You could do your thing, but you had to, like, at least make a feint to, like, try to hide it.
Exactly. And, you know, Valentina's family were very Catholic. Italian Catholic like mine, even though I'm part Irish. I'm mostly Sicilian, but yeah. So I haven't been here in a long time, so I don't know how I'm gonna feel, but.
So you have been here though?
I have been here, but a long, I mean, we're talking maybe decades.
So today what I thought.
Too painful.
Yeah, I can imagine. So today what I thought on our walk and talk, it's going to be an act in 3 parts. We're going to see the shooting site. We're going to go to, after this, go see the funeral home.
Right.
And then we're going to go see her grave site. So I guess I essentially, so we're coming up on the site. It's right across the street on it's the cross streets of St. Teresa Avenue and Hutchinson River Parkway, which is we're just coming up to now. So Gary, let's, as painful as it is, let's relive this experience. Take us back to the night that, well, to the minute you heard about this.
I heard about it, I'd say, I think it was the next morning. My father had the paper, and Then it was on the news the whole day. And I was with my girlfriend at the time. I was over at her house.
And was that here in the Bronx?
Yeah, that was on AD Avenue. And we were just in the living room watching the news. I mean, practically the whole day.
Right.
Several of my friends were on camera crying. And as I told you last time, they were trying to interview a lot of the girls. And the guys were pretty much just bullying the press to get the hell out of here.
Right.
Because we just didn't want to talk about it. We didn't want to get it sensationalized.
Of course. But what was your initial reaction?
Shock. I mean, I was numb for weeks. I remember one morning, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I was in my father's apartment, and I just broke down.
And this was 2 weeks ago?
No. It was 2 weeks after.
Oh, after the...
Because I was numb for almost 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was just like that the whole time.
Right.
And I remember one day I woke up and I just, the feelings they just gang up on you.
Right.
And I was just sobbing.
So let's cross the street, because I'm assuming they were on this side of the street.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, this very characteristic, very large tree here, which is there actually are a few repeated down the road, but this is one of the biggest trees, if not the biggest tree in the area, for sure. And I'm in my conspiratorial brain, sometimes I wonder whether this tree had any significance to this, but I doubt it.
No, I doubt it, because this tree, although probably the biggest tree, is not much different than many of the trees. A lot of trees are very close to size, but...
And of course, back then it was smaller. Probably not that much smaller.
Not much.
But still smaller.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, that hasn't changed, but as you said, they grow up.
They grow up.
They don't grow out.
So it was right here that this happened. Alex and Valentina were parked literally right here across from 1874, which is right there.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure if it was in this spot right here or where we're standing or right here, but it was generally in this area.
We were close enough, and I can't remember, was it the note was left in the car or on the floor?
The note was left on the ground, and this was where the note was left.
And that's a hell of a chance to take, because it could have blew away.
It could have blown away. It could have, everybody here could have seen,
Somebody could have picked it up.
They talked about lovers' lanes, but if you really analyze this site, not only are we just 500 feet from the entrance to the highway down there, which is just a quick straight shot right to the hutch, which takes you right to Yonkers, but you're also literally right across the street from tons of residential houses. So this is a very brazen attack if you think about it. Even at 3 in the morning, it was still a brazen attack.
This is not a lover's lane.
Yeah, you have the highway right there.
I mean, unless it was like this completely around.
Right.
Even that is a stretch. But back then, no cameras. I mean, these lights were here, but it's brazen, but obviously they had it all planned out so they can just jump right on the hutch.
Straight shot down the hutch.
Sorry, folks, we call it the hutch.
The hutch, right.
From the neighborhood.
Just a straight shot right down the hutch.
Yeah.
But apparently what happened here is they were both in the driver's seat. And Berkowitz, who admitted to this killing, the reports from the papers say that it actually took place on the driver's side.
Okay.
Which is really crazy to me, because you don't have much room here. Let's just analyze this car right here.
That's kind of tight to be doing that.
Let's pretend that this was Alexander's car, right? Which is not too far of a stretch. It's the same spot,
You're
same
basically
area.
shimmying in. I mean...
Yeah, you're shimmying in. I could see doing this right here, like
that
getting
I could see.
Right here. But then you got to wonder, that's really up close. Like I could see coming up from behind, right?
Yes.
And coming from this way, and then coming to the passenger side and shooting through. But to get to the front of the car.
Well, let me see. So he had to basically do this.
Or if he was here, he had to basically get in front. And it's crazy that they didn't notice him.
Yeah, to jump, he had to just jump in, do it,
and then get the hell out of there.
Hightail out of here, which means there had to be a car close by.
Right. Or there were multiple cars, like we think in all these
Ready
shootings.
to go.
Ready to go. And in fact, he might not even have put the letter himself. It might have been someone else.
It might have been someone else, and it might have been later. It might have been. It might have been early.
Who knows?
I don't know.
It might have been, if he was with people, it might have been one of those people.
So to all those people, I think it was just Berkowitz. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Even the videos, even the shootings where he admitted he shot the people.
Right.
He had to have had help. And you know, we're looking at this timeline now, Gary. We're starting to analyze this timeline, and there's notions happening. If you look at timeline with him starting to start his war against the Carr family after this shooting. Something about this shooting changed everything.
Yes.
And I think that he did this and he got pissed off that he was involved in this, and somehow or other, that's when the crimes against the Carrs started.
Right.
And the Nettos was already happening.
Right.
But I don't know. I think maybe he didn't even know that there was a letter put down.
And because there was animosity between him and the Carrs, I think that was the genesis to get him tagged and taking the fall for this.
It could be.
That's what I think.
Right now, it's all speculation.
Right.
Exactly. We don't really know anything.
I don't know for sure, but that's my guess.
But it seems like he got pissed off at the whole operation after whatever happened here happened.
Because he was probably so military about it, and they were sloppy. You know, maybe.
It could be.
They weren't as militarized as he, or as organized as he, because he was trained.
Right. Or if he didn't leave the letter and somebody left that letter there, he could have been like, "Yo, what the f, man? You're exposing us.
Now you're exposing us."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
because
who knows?
he didn't write the letter.
He didn't write that letter.
So
there was something about this shooting that changed things, and I think this shooting is highly significant. I mean, they all were, but I think something happened after this particular one that changed the dynamic of what was happening in Yonkers.
Yeah, I think so.
So how do you feel, man? Like, what do you feel being here?
I mean, things are welling up inside me, but sometimes they don't come out until later. But I mean, while this is not where she's buried, this is where she was killed. And
right, this is exactly where she was killed.
You know, he took somebody. I mean, this girl was a beautiful person. I mean, she was, she was street smart. She was fun. We all loved her. So this is, it hurts. It hurts.
All right, Gary. Well, on that, I think that we have done what we needed to do here. And yeah, I can only imagine this is where your best friend's life was taken, right here.
Yeah.
In front of this tree. All right, so next stop, we're gonna hit the funeral home, Gary, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, Gary, well, we're back here at Ferenga Brothers Funeral Home, where you and I actually did have, in our first video, we were here. Mm-hmm. And of course, people can refer to that, but for the benefit of those who were not with us for that first video, who might not have seen it.
It was October of last year, and it was on YouTube Thanksgiving.
Yes, it was,
yes.
Right? We put it out on Thanksgiving, so if people want to see that, but we're gonna put it in this video today because, of course, the theme of this video is the death of Valentina. And we would be remiss if we didn't go to the funeral home. So Gary, why don't you give the audience a little picture of, you know, the day of her funeral? How much longer after was it than her death? What was the scene here like? What were you guys doing and thinking? You know, anything that you can remember from that day.
Yeah, I think it was 4 days tops later, and this whole area was just full of all of us, relatives, friends. Because our friend circle was very wide. dozens and dozens of people. That's how, and we were all close. We were all like best friends. So
Right.
and then the press was here, tried to get their questions in. They were mostly headed for the women, the girls.
The girls, right?
Because they figured the girls would be more prone to answer questions, or they would get them to answer more questions. And a lot of us guys would try to keep them away from the girls. The girls would start answering questions. We had to literally pull the girls away.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
People weren't as savvy back then. They thought, you know, people kind of got a kick back then out of speaking to the media.
Yeah, and I remember one friend of mine, I'll just say his name is John, he was on camera crying.
Really?
So I didn't see that when they were interviewing him. So they caught him somehow without me or a few other people, catching on. And then there were some of the girls surrounding him, crying.
Wow.
Reiterating what he said, so forth and so on. So I guess I didn't see that happening, or we weren't able to get the press off them in time.
I guess the press were kind of going after the women because, you know, the narrative was that Son of Sam was shooting women.
Right.
And of course, this funeral was the first post Son of Sam funeral in the sense that he had just been recognized as such at that name with the letter at that left at Valentina's shooting site.
I guess beside the first killing, which wasn't famous because they didn't know. They didn't know at that time. But
right.
Valentina's murder was, I guess, the most famous in a way because of the letter, like you said.
The letter, right. And the letter, that's what brought out the ghouls in the media.
Right.
So this was probably the first Son of Sam funeral that was like a real media circus.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it wasn't until maybe a murder or two before Valentina that they had a serial killer on their hand, they thought.
Right.
So,
and of course the letter was the one that introduced the whole term Son of Sam to the public.
Yeah, the letter that Berkowitz did not write.
That doesn't seem that way. It's
Right.
certainly not in his handwriting.
Or in my opinion anyway, so.
Right, well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that that's not his handwriting,
Right,
but, you know, that's a whole other can of worms.
That's another subject, and I apologize.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I've been to this funeral home many times. My sister died here, friends, relatives. I've been here maybe 24 times. And that's since Valentina.
Right.
So this is a familiar place, unfortunately,
Right.
for us. But yeah, it's a day that changed all our lives.
I can imagine, and definitely, you know, the end of some era in your life for sure.
Yeah, as close as I was to Valentina, she was close to. We were all almost the same. We were all best friends.
And if you think about it, you know, just thinking about it right now, you guys were solidly middle class kids in the Bronx. Murders just didn't happen to your age group and to your sociological group.
No,
it just didn't happen.
That's why. That's one of the reasons why it was so controversial and shocking.
Right.
Yeah, we were maybe slightly above middle class, maybe a little bit upper middle class.
Now, contextually, though, I'm trying to think. All right, so the letter comes out, Son of Sam, and all of a sudden now, at that funeral, was there the Son of Sam fever, or was it still like you hadn't gotten used to the Son of Sam name like yet?
At the wake and the funeral, we weren't thinking about that because all we cared about was Valentina.
Right.
But after her funeral and wake and things started to settle down, yeah, the fever got big.
The fever got big.
And, you know, that just made it harder for us than it was already. I was numb for at least 2 weeks until I broke down one morning, which I'm sure that happened to a lot of people. I would think, and not to categorize women, it probably hit women quicker.
Yeah. Well, they're easier with their emotions.
Yeah, but yeah, I was numb and held it in, and it just came flooding out one day. I was alone, though.
Right.
But yeah, I'll never forget it, obviously. Yeah, no, at the time of the funeral and the wake, no, we weren't, you know, I mean, other than we want to, you know, beat the shit out of the guy.
Right.
Or, you know, but other than that.
Because I don't think that Son of Sam fever pitch had really started even after that letter. It seemed like the summer was the most...
I'll tell you when the fever started. I was kind of hanging around with a girl who I talked about in the first video we did.
Uh-huh.
Whose whose friend lived in the same building, we started going steady beginning of June, late May, early June, and I would say, and I know I'm right, I would say around that time, the end of May, June, the beginning of June, that's when it really went crazy, which was only about 2-3 months before he got arrested.
Right.
But it was that was when it was a fever pitch.
Fever pitch, right. Because by the time Valentina was buried, it had just come out, Son of Sam, and you know,
yeah,
before
that, it was some idiots, some nuts running around.
Yeah, 44 caliber
but
killer.
Yeah, I'd say a month or so after Val got shot, that's when it hit her. Because that's when, you know, my girlfriend's father was saying, I don't want you going too far. I don't want you going.
Right.
Did we listen half the time? No. Because, you know, I was macho guy. Like,
of course.
I'll you know, nothing's going to happen to her with me around. But
right.
I'm sure Alex felt the same way, too.
Yeah, or they probably didn't even think, because, again, when they were hanging out that night together on the Hutchinson Parkway Service Road, there wasn't a Son of Sam yet.
Yeah, and just to let the audience know, as if they didn't already know, Valentina was the type of girl that if she would have beat the shit out of the guy, because she was that kind of a girl. She was a rough and tumble girl.
Right. Right.
So
you know, they must have just been ambushed at that site, because
absolutely, they ambushed.
when we saw that site, and if he was on the driver's side, anywhere near the driver's side, would have had to.
I'm thinking he creeped up, jumped in front of the window, and did it, and
ambushed
took off.
and took off. Yeah, and God knows if he even left that letter. Anyway, Gary, so any final words for the audience before we wrap up today's video?
No, just thank you everyone for caring and watching, and thank you.
No, my pleasure. And thank you, Gary, because without you guys, we wouldn't be getting the richness of this story. We'd still be having to rely on old newspaper reports and, you know, BS from, you know, different authors and psychiatrists.
Well, it's cathartic for me too, so thank you.
That's good, that's good. All right, Gary, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So Gary, we're here at Old St. Raymond Cemetery, and this is, of course, where Valentina's buried. And this is a wild-looking place, man. Talk about, like, kind of desolate.
Yeah.
I've always seen this cemetery from the highway. Not this one, but the other St. Raymond's, the newer one, and it's humongous.
Well, it's Monday, so it's on the weekends, I'm sure, or Friday through the weekend, it's supposed to be more crowded. Or
yeah. But anyway, so after the funeral, I'm assuming that you guys all drove out to here. Do you have any recollections from that day?
Just how sad it was. I guess part of me blocked it out, or wanted to block it out. But yeah, it just my life, all our lives changed that day. And like I said, I was numb for the longest time until a couple weeks afterwards. I just broke down. But I heard that's normal, a delayed reaction like that.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it changed me, from that day on, because she's one of the closest friends I've had. All the confidence we had together, and we bonded because of the acting bug.
Right.
That's what bonded us in the first place. Besides classmates. And like I had said before, we were all a close-knit group anyway. So we were all very close. It's like we were just all best friends.
Did you guys go to Alexander's funeral too, or was that not?
I didn't.
Did anybody from your group go?
I'm not sure. I can find out. I'm sure more of my friends would know that. Because
he kind of is almost like Valentina, for some reason, gets more attention than he does.
They weren't together long. I think that's part of it. They weren't together that long.
The male victims of Son of Sam, though, they don't get as much attention as the female.
No, they don't, because I guess psychologically it's more horrific for women to be killed or attacked.
So here we are. We're at the grave site here. We found it.
Yes, right here.
Right here. So, how many people were here? Do you remember?
4 or 5.
Oh, it was small. There wasn't that many people
No,
here?
not that many. No.
Why not? I thought there were like 1 million friends. How come like nobody came to the gravesite?
I mean, over the years, we've all come here. I mean, I haven't been here in a long time because I moved upstate, and I'm just
No, but I mean the day of.
the day
burial
of. I mean, it wasn't a tremendous amount. It was, you know, the family didn't want, you know, all kinds of craziness going on and too many people coming. So that's how we are in the Italian Catholic faith.
Now, she's buried here with what looks like her great-grandfather and her grandfather.
Yes, I believe so. I didn't know these people, but those are the grandparents.
Would that have been her grandparents? Yeah, that would have been her grandparents.
Her grandparents.
And then maybe her uncle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would assume so.
That's interesting in and of itself because where are her parents buried?
I don't know where her father's buried. You would think close by, but
You would think that they would be buried together.
yeah.
But of course, you know, she predeceased him by decades.
Yeah.
And obviously they did not have probably a site planned out for her when she was 18 years old.
No, this was last minute, of course.
Right, so it must have just gone into the plot.
Yes.
She must have just gone into the plot where her grandparents were.
Like I said, and, you know, I don't want to thank you for the opportunity because, you know, it's been too long since I visited her. And if I wasn't upstate, I'd be here at least once a year.
Really?
I'll probably be here more often now.
Now, yeah. It just seems everything seems much more present now, and you know, now that we're
Yeah.
having this video series.
Yeah,
and
no, and you're
it's-
helping me have more closure and hopefully all my friends' closure.
Well, that's one of the things that we're trying to do. We're trying to, you know, bring these stories out, have people tell them, and in many cases, it's for the first time.
Yeah, and I want her to have closure, so.
Well, I'll just stay quiet, Gary.
Okay.
You do what you need to do here.
All
And
right. Hey, Val. I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I came. All of us miss you. And everybody's asking for you, and we're doing our best to put an end to all the questions, and we have closure. We're still working on it, and we're going to do our best to get it done. And you know how much I miss you. And I'll be here more often, and I love you. All right, and this is for you. All right. All right. I'll see you soon.